and welcome. This is Ashley's Heart Song, the place where we get out of the stress and back into our body, our life, and our business. When you tap into the song of your heart, that is when we master the mind and the stress that steals our life. Y'all, I have a very special guest today, and I cannot wait to get into conversation with her. You are going to love her. I will tell more about her in just a moment. She's going to be a wealth of information, and she comes with a servant's heart. So get ready to get a lot of downloads, a lot of information that is going to help you elevate your health and vitality exponentially. But before I bring her on, it is time for our vitality score. The vitality score is where we check into every aspect of who we are, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. When we take a look at each little segment of us and our whole makeup, we can address where that score is low and we can begin to elevate it. We have more of a point in which to direct our attention. So when we are looking at our mental vitality, today on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being it's a very low score. You feel mentally scattered, mentally disconnected, just you're off point, not on point. And then you can score all the way up to a 10, which would mean you are on point, you're clear, you're focused, you're getting everything done that you are wanting to get done. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Write down your number. And then next, we're going to go to your emotional vitality. Emotionally, where are you today? Are you scoring around the 1 to a 5 where your moods are all over the place? Maybe you are a little edgy. Or emotionally, maybe you are just feeling so good. You're thriving. You feel balanced in your emotions. You're joyful. Nothing's getting you down today. That's going to score you closer to a 10. And then next, we have physical vitality. Physically, your physical body, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being you're fatigued, low energy, weak feeling, maybe achy, maybe you have some pain going on. That's going to be around 1 to a 5. Or you could score between a 5 and a 10, where physically you feel strong, you feel capable today. You are flexible, you're mobile, you've gotten your workout in and you still have energy. So put down your physical score for today. And then we're going to look at spiritually. How are you spiritually today? Are you disconnected? That would be anywhere from a 1 to a 5. Did you wake up this morning in a rush, hit the ground running, and forgot about taking care of you? Have you taken a time today to get connected? That's going to score you closer to the 10. Are you spiritually aligned, spiritually connected? Now write down the score for your spiritual vitality, and then you're going to add those numbers up. The high score is a 40. So anywhere you are on the score spectrum doesn't matter. This is not about judgment, criticism. It's about awareness and about you seeing where you are today in taking care of you, in caring for your body, your soul, your spirit. Where are you today? And what area of your life do you need to put a little bit of tender love and care today? Or maybe this week. So just keep attention to that. Don't stress about it. Don't go into overload on it. This is really just about awareness so you know the place to put some attention and to give yourself some tender loving care. If you have jumped on with us as the live audience, you are in for a treat today. Y'all, I want to welcome Ann Montgomery with First in Nutrition as the guest spot for today. Ann, I'm going to read just a little bit about her, is a native Floridan. I don't know how to say this. Floridan. She's from Florida, y'all. She was born there. She's a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a love of anything that has to do with outdoors. After spending years in the fire service as a firefighter and paramedic, she resigned to start First in Nutrition with her husband, Jonathan. They wanted to have a bigger impact on the lives of first responders and military members and their families so they could become the best version of themselves. We have found her and her husband have found over 10 plus years of nutrition coaching and community people where, people were able to build lives they truly wanted to by giving their best to the people who need them most. Y'all, welcome to the show with me, Ann Montgomery. Hello, Ann.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm so happy you're here with me. So Ann and I got to know each other at the America's Mighty Warriors retreat this year. Her and her husband were there with First in Nutrition, giving some nutrition coaching. And then I was there doing the emotional resolution coaching. And we got to know each other there. And what a treat it was to meet someone that is, has that same love for people and for helping them to be well. Love it. And so, Ann, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Who I am,
Yeah.
man. So you covered a lot of it. I mean, the basics are, yeah, I was a firefighter paramedic, and I've always been a person who wants to help people. That was kind of why I got on the job in the first place. I'm gonna help people. I'm gonna save lives and do good things, and I was so excited. And as it turned out, yes, I got to help a lot of people, but I realized that there was nobody really helping us as first responders, as fire and law enforcement and military. There was nobody directly helping us take care of ourselves so that we could take care of everybody else. And that kind of hurt me a little to my soul. And that's kind of how First In started. And so me as a person, I got a lot of my mama's heart. She had a big heart. And so I just want to do everything I can to have a positive impact on people, whether it's a conversation or habit changing or life skills, or maybe just reaching out to say hi. You and I had some conversations and we talked to a lot of good people. And I think that just that can have an impact. So however I can positively impact people and leave people with a happier feeling than when I met them with, I think that's who I am. That's who I strive to be every day.
That's so beautiful. And what a, um, here it's named as the heart song, right? I mean, what a heart song to live for is to have that top of mind of how you serve, how you show up in the world. And coming from that makes such an impact on those people that you talk to, look at, share time with. It doesn't matter. It shines out of you. You can tell. When I was with you just for that little bit of time, it was just like I just saw this servant's heart. It was just like bigger than Dallas. It was just standing right out there. And I think everybody that works with you feels that coming from you. So one of y'all's big things in First Nutrition, I think your main focus is really helping people to care for themselves so they can care for others. Because I believe you found yourself in a situation where you had like a disruption in your health, you just lethargy. And can you kind of share that experience with the audience and what you did in order to turn that around?
Yeah, of course. So I found my way to food in sort of a negative way as I was growing up. I started to turn to food through stress and emotions. I started eating for comfort a lot as I was growing up, and a lot of it came from when we grew up. We saw pictures of women in magazines, and on it wasn't even social media at the time. It was TV in our youth. So you see these people, you want to be like them, and it caused all of this just stress and frustration that I was not that person. And so I started turning to food at a pretty young age, late teens, early 20s, and it just kind of cycled from there. So something happy happened and I would go and eat, and something sad happened and I would go and eat. And then when I joined the fire service, I found out that food is a huge comfort tool in the fire service. We go to a bad call, we all sit down at 3 o'clock in the morning and we eat. All the food comes out. We sit around the firehouse table, solving the world's problems and bonding over food. So it kind of became this cycle that just added on to the negativity that I had poured into myself originally. And yeah, my health went downhill pretty quickly. I gained a lot of weight. My blood work was not good. My blood pressure was not good. I don't think I could have run to the end of the driveway if I had to save my own life. It was pretty terrible, the position I had put myself in. And it was kind of at the moment that we were sitting around the firehouse table, and I realized I was a liability and not an asset to my crew, to my family, to my friends. I was creating more of a liability than being a help. And that's all I ever wanted to do was help people. But how could I help people if I wasn't able to help myself? And so it was this kind of moment where you go, if I don't take care of me, how can I expect to take care of you or anybody else? And we say that everybody who's been on an airplane has heard flight attendants. They give the spiel about the safety things on the plane. The oxygen mask comes out and they say, before you put anybody else's mask on, you put your mask on. Because if you can't breathe and you pass out, you can't help anybody else. And it's the same way with your health and your self-care. If you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to live long enough. You're not going to live a healthy enough life to take care of everybody else, to be there for them. So it started me on this path. And what's funny is I got a bit of a slap in the face that was the last straw to make changes to myself. I was in Disney with my parents and we were walking around Disney World, and my dad loves Disney. He's a big kid. And he looks over at me and he goes, "Hey, we have to go to lunch. Waddle over here so we can go." And I was like, did he just tell me to waddle over there? He did. And it was that exact moment that I went, okay, I'm done. I'm done. This is how people see me. This is how I see me. And this is not okay. That was the moment that changed things. And yeah, it's harsh. It is. It sounds harsh. It's something that maybe I wouldn't say to somebody else, but it really did change my whole life. So at that time, I started choosing to take care of me, figure out how to eat. Maybe I didn't need to cover up all of my emotional stress with food. Maybe every time something happened, I didn't need to turn to food. Maybe let me sit with my thoughts, sit in my head, go through what I was experiencing, feel my emotions, and actually be honest with myself. I didn't need to eat. I was covering up everything else in my life. And that is what has helped me change the person that I am, and subsequently a lot of lives in the First family. So if I can help people from falling into that emotional trap of just sweep it under the rug, cover it all up, neglect your self-care, it's worth it if we can just help one person to not do that. But that's pretty much how I came to where I am today.
Wow, what a beautiful, impactful story, right? I mean, and all the pain that is wrapped inside of that, and that you have risen and come out on top and created this incredible platform in which to help others. That is beautiful, Anne. So beautiful. And yeah, those words from your dad, holy mackerel, right? But sometimes don't we hear those things from our parents or from a loved one that get us to, it's like that launching pad. It's like, oh, thank you for waking me up. I mean, it was almost like tapping your head, wake up. You fell asleep at the
Sometimes,
wheel of your health.
yeah. Sometimes that's a great way to put it. You fell asleep at the wheel of your health. And sometimes we need to hear the truth when we're not willing to tell ourselves. And sometimes it's going to be harsh, but hearing that, if it allows you to make changes and take steps forward and be a better version of you, I think is 100% worth it.
Yeah, yeah, that little tough love.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit tough love. Yeah. All right. So we know that suffering doesn't get us anywhere. You know, you were in that suffering for quite a while and you just stayed at that level, right? And I have been there too, where, you know, just the suffering and thinking we can make progress in that spot. But you have a way of helping people find routines in their life. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Suffering is never likely to lead to long-term progress in any area, whether it's physical health or emotional health or spiritual health. If you have to suffer through something, chances are you're not going to be able to do it for long enough to see changes. And that's really what it's about, finding a way to enjoy what you're doing to see long-term change. It's hard this day and age because there's a lot of instant gratification. There's a lot of, I can order something on Amazon and have it here tomorrow. There's a program that says abs in 8 minutes. We used to have them all, you take this pill or you drink this drink and you're going to be phenomenal and you don't have to do any work and it's promised right away to you. And we get lost in this cycle of instant gratification. And that's where food comes in as well. Food provides an instant gratification for people that is really hard to think through and step away from because it feels so good in the moment. And really, your brain is set up to do two things: run away from pain and run towards pleasure. That's it. That is what your animal brain is set up to do. So when you let your animal brain take over, yeah, I'm in pain, I am stressed, food brings me comfort, run towards the food, run away from the stress. And this is where we get into this cycle. And it's a super negative cycle because what happens is you run to the food, you get comforted for a few minutes, maybe a few hours, and then after that, you're right back to where you were. You didn't solve the stress problem. Now you're upset because you went and ran to food for all this comfort. And now you're back in this spot where you go, well, I'm in pain again. I'm going to run back towards the comfort. And it goes around and around and around unless you can stop and break the cycle. The way that we start to kind of understand that is, hey, something simple. I'm stressed out. My emotions are out of control. I want to run to the closet. For me, it's something like Doritos. I want to run to a bag of Doritos or a box of Oreos, and not just a one, the whole thing, because you can't eat just one. In that moment, if you can stop and just breathe for just a minute, take a breath, stand where you are, physically take a step back from whatever environment you're in. If you can just give your brain long enough for the logical side to take over, you can start to go, listen, I'm frustrated, I'm stressed. Going to food is not going to take care of the problem. So let me actually acknowledge what I'm feeling, sit in it for a moment, and figure out what I can do to make it better and not add and create more problems on top of that. So that's really what we try to do with creating habits and routines. Hey, if I set up a habit that every day you track your food. Okay, well now when you get stressed, instead of just running to the food, you go, well, I have to track my food. And you have to stop and take a minute and think and go to this habit. And by the time you get done with it, you go, I don't really need the food. That's not what I need. That's not my solution. If we can just break the pattern and stop and get a little pattern interrupt for a minute, most people find that they can sit with the problem and decide that it's just not worth it to continue down that negative cycle. So yeah, creating habits, creating routines, finding other outlets is a big, big thing for people. That's a huge benefit, especially when we don't even need to talk about how much stress everybody has every day. Work life, home life, relationships, kids, pets. We were just talking earlier about how we had several appliances break in the house this weekend. I'm not even going to pretend like I didn't want to run to the bag of Doritos when the third appliance in 2 days broke. It was a mess, but it's not going to make it better. It's not going to fix the dishwasher. So you don't do it because it's not going to add anything positive to the situation. So yeah, if we can break down just little habits, tiny little things you can do to take a step back from whatever moment you're in, you can start to change your patterns, change your behavior, and it just becomes what you do instead of a chore or taking effort. This just becomes how you handle life. And I think that people will find that it turns out to be a lot more positive when you can incorporate those habits and routines and when you can actually deal with the problem as it's happening instead of running from it.
Yes. Oh, amen. Amen. It's just to stop and to stop midway, right? It's like hands going towards the cookie jar and you're aware of it. It's like, oh, wait a minute, stop. Stop and just be. I love that you said that. Just be with what you're feeling and let it all come rushing in so that we're not numbing it anymore with that food. Yeah, it is such a beautiful step. And it's one of the most rewarding steps, I believe, is to be able to stop like that. Do you have any clients coming to you going, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to stop. I don't even know if I'll be able to remember. It'll be 20 minutes after I've already been through the cookie jar that I remember. Do you have people coming to you like that? Mm-hmm.
We do, of course we do. There are different levels to everything. And what I like to tell people is that the negative habits that you have, which that was one of mine, reaching for the chips, reaching for the food, those negative habits and thoughts may never completely go away. They might have been so deeply ingrained in who you are and your habits every day that you might feel them for the rest of your life, and that's okay. The hope is that we learn to control them a little better, a little faster every time they happen. So, hey, maybe you don't catch it when it first starts, but maybe a couple of handfuls into the chip bag, you go, you know what? I see this happening. Let me put this down and take a moment and breathe and think about what I'm doing. If we can just stop there and not continue with the whole bag or the third bag, you've made progress. That's progress. It doesn't have to be perfection every time, just that you handle it a little differently and a little better every time it comes up.
Beautiful. Yes. Yes. I feel that there are many out there listening to this that needed to hear that. It's not about perfection. It's not about getting it right. It's about the progress. It's about continuing to put forth the effort, continuing to put forth the action that's going to lead you to that success of finally quieting that voice, that pattern.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's
it
beautiful.
is. It's never about perfection.
Mhm.
If any of us were perfect, I mean, I don't even know what that would look like. None of us are. Not, not any of us, not our team, our coaches. Nobody is perfect. We've all got these little voices in our head. We've all got these habits that creep in. We've all got these thoughts. How we choose to address them and how we respond to them is what matters. It's the actions we take after the thoughts occur that determine your outcomes. So if more often than not, I can respond positively and change my mindset around these thoughts, I'm going to see progress. I just have to do that more often than I listen to them and fall back down that negative rabbit hole.
That's beautiful. This progress. So women, let's kind of shift our attention to women. Since the majority of our audience is women, when it comes to the getting in vibrant health condition and making that progress, but then also that aging process, what are the two things that women can do that will benefit them on that journey to gaining that vibrant health, to really feeling good about themselves and their own skin as they age?
When we talk about from a physical perspective and a health perspective, the top two are eat more protein and lift weights,
Mhm.
hands down across the board. And it's there for very specific reasons. So as we age, particularly women, we tend to lose bone density at a pretty rapid rate, which means your bones get a little more brittle every year. The problem is if that occurs and continues, that's when we see things breaking. So you trip over something in the parking lot and fall. The difference between potentially breaking a hip and not is how strong are your bones and how much muscle do you have supporting that area. Because if you don't have either of those things, if you've neglected your food health, if you've neglected your physical health for long enough, and your bones just continue to get more and more brittle, there's a high likelihood you're going to fall and you could break a hip. You could break more than that. You put yourself in kind of a bad position. So things we can do to stave that off are lifting weights. And it doesn't have to be crazy weightlifting. It doesn't have to be heavy. It can be body weight exercises or routines. Just putting pressure on your bones and your joints forces them to repair and rebuild a little at a time, and that creates density. They get stronger. This is why when you hear them talk about bone density and you don't want to have bone loss as you age, this is why this is important. The more pressure you can put on your bones and your joints, the more you're forcing them to work and have to rebuild. So they get stronger. So what happens is when you fall, now they're not as weak, they're not as brittle. So what we're looking at is if you picked up a little twig in the yard and then you picked up a giant branch, these are your differences. If you don't weight train, any kind of body weight resistance training, anything like that, and you're not paying attention to that, you're more like the twig. You can snap that twig, super easy, it breaks. When you resistance train and you get some density, some thickness to your bones, you're like that branch. Probably no way you're going to snap that branch very easily. That's the difference in what we're looking at. Everybody should want to be the branch, especially women. None of us want to fall and break something. right? And there's never a good story with it. It's not like I can say I was attacked by ninjas and I fell and I broke my arm. It's always, for me, it's always I tripped over the dog, or I bent down to pick something up and I fell. You know, I'm terribly clumsy. So it's not what I want my story to be. So that's the first thing, is definitely find some kind of resistance training, and even yoga, Pilates, ways to move your body. Just holding your own body weight can increase your bone density. Muscle mass is the next thing with lifting weights. Muscle mass and bone density after age about 35, we start to lose in whole percentages every year. It's an enormous rate, and you'll see the percentages differ anywhere from 1 to 3% every year. But if you start doing the math on that after 35, those numbers get really large really quickly. It also becomes harder to gain muscle and to build bone density as we age. So we're kind of fighting against two things. I'm losing it and it's harder to build it. So the sooner you start resistance training, the better. Protein is the second big one. And I know that a lot of people will have heard this, especially women. Eat more protein, get your protein. There's all kinds of protein, snacks, chips and powders and drinks. There's whole markets saturated with them. Chances are you're not eating enough, because most women just don't. We don't gravitate towards protein. I'm not gonna run towards a giant plate of chicken breast over the chips that I want. I'm gonna be honest, the chips are gonna taste better. I'm not gonna pick the chicken breast. But protein does a lot of really great things in your body. And I think that this gets overlooked because most people think eat protein, build muscles. And that's true. It is, but protein also plays a part in hair, skin, and nails in a big way. Your immune system. Protein has a huge amount to do with your immune system health and with your hormonal health for women especially. So proteins can impact how your hormones are produced, how they are used, how available they are in your body to you. So there are a lot of good reasons that women should get enough. It doesn't mean you need to go out and eat twice as much as you are overnight. It just means maybe pay attention to how much you're getting every day and eat just a little more every day. Have just one more bite here and there and see if you don't start to feel better over the course of a few weeks. Chances are you will. But protein and weightlifting, those are the two big things. If nothing else, focus on those two for women's health especially.
So many women, they're like, okay, I need to eat more protein. And right now they're saying, you hear a lot of people talking about, up to 100 grams for women getting in 100 grams. And a lot of the conversation is, but where am I going to get all of that? And how do I fit in 100 grams into my day? Do you have any tips for that?
Oh man, I have 10 plus years of tracking and tips for that. So as far as the amounts, the amounts vary so widely. You will see everything from eat 70 grams a day to eat 1.5 times your body weight a day. And the ranges can be so large, which is why we like to tell people, hey, let's find out how much you're eating now, and then we'll go from there. And this does very often require either tracking of your food or some form of awareness. I know that I ate this yesterday, so I'm going to eat an extra bite of chicken today or an extra piece of something. Protein's kind of a fun one to get in. There are a lot of good ways you can do it. If you're a person who does not like to eat so much, so a lot of people don't like to eat protein in whole food sources, totally fine. They make a bunch of protein shakes that taste amazing. These shakes come in every flavor, and they're a great way to get anywhere from 30 to 42 grams of protein in a shake. I mean, there's a brand that has a 42-gram shake. It tastes like chocolate milk, right? And all it is it's protein that's been ground up, freeze dried, and put into powder form. So whey protein and protein powder very much is a food source. It's labeled as a supplement. I think this is where a lot of women in particular shy away from protein powders and drinks, because we feel like it's a supplement. We did an entire email series on protein and how it's broken down into powder and exactly what it is, where it comes from. As far as we're concerned, with our people and with ourselves, protein powder and shakes are a whole food source, and they're a great way to get it in if you are busy, if you don't enjoy eating, if you don't like whole food protein sources. Chances are you'd rather drink a shake than eat 20 egg whites. That's kind of a rough call, and you can get a lot in a shake. I like to use the protein powder to make waffles, to be honest. This is one of my personally my favorite things to do. Yeah, for the last 8 years, every morning breakfast has been protein waffles. Every morning. It's
Oh my
amazing.
goodness, I want that recipe.
I find a powder, protein powder I like, whatever flavor you like. I mix it 1-to-1 ratio with pancake mix or waffle mix, the complete mix that doesn't require anything but water. I
Mhm.
just mix them. I weigh them out because we track. I weigh out my measurements, mix it with water till it's kind of a pudding consistency, and then it goes in the waffle maker. That's it. You can put fruit in it, peanut butter, chocolate chips, top it with whipped cream. You can put syrup on it. There's a million ways to make flavor combinations. You can make pumpkin waffles if you're in the basic season. You can do so many things with it. That's been my all-time favorite way. My husband is an ice cream person. So we have recently found last year that Ninja, that makes the foodie, they make all of those kitchen tools.
Mhm.
Ninja makes a tool called the Creamy, and this thing turns anything into ice cream. So we have started putting protein powder and liquid protein shakes in these little pint containers. You pour it in there, put it in the freezer for 8 to 10 hours, pop it in this machine, and it legitimately comes out ice cream. It's the greatest invention to date, as far as I'm concerned. But if you
That sounds
don't, yeah, if you want snacks, I mean, so protein waffles, protein ice cream, those are your fun things. If you're looking for other ways, whole food sources, there are hundreds of types of Greek yogurts and different flavors. There is cottage cheese, chicken breast, egg whites, shrimp, whitefish, pork, beef. I mean, anything you like as far as those go, you name it, it has protein. I think the biggest thing to do is just start to add a little more at a time. What do you already eat that has protein that you can add just a bit more? And then figure out if that works for you. And if it doesn't, yeah, you might need to find some other sources. But there are hundreds of foods you can go to. Quest makes protein chips that taste like Doritos these days.
Yeah.
Eat a bag of chips. It's fantastic. And then if you take that, dump some ground beef or some chicken in it, we call them walking tacos. You put all your taco stuff on the Quest chips right in the bag, get you a fork, and you got walking tacos, and it is a protein bomb. There are a lot of ways to do
Nice. I am not familiar with Quest chips. I will have to look those up.
it. Yeah.
Have to look those up. So are you familiar with the protein water that's out? I have recently heard of it and I've been researching it. And some of them I see that, okay, that's acceptable, as far as the ingredients go. And have you used any of those protein waters? And what is your thought around that?
So I've only used one, and I believe it was protein H2O, I believe. Honestly, I used it ahead of a medical procedure where I had to only drink clear liquids. So that's when I tended to use that. But we do have a lot of people in our family that do enjoy it. They've used several different kinds. I don't see anything wrong with it. If you enjoy it and it helps you hit your protein goals, absolutely. As far as ingredients, that's a completely individual thing for all of our people. We are very much about foods not being good or bad, healthy or unhealthy. The best foods for you are the ones that you enjoy, that taste good, that make your body feel its best, and that help you hit your goals. Whatever those are, we are totally for. It's one of the reasons that we don't do food lists, we don't do meal plans. You know yourself best, you know what you like to eat. Let us set the guidelines, you eat whatever you like. So the protein waters, yeah, I'm all for it. Whatever it takes to get your protein in.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was very cool. I liked seeing the waters because you don't always want a milky thing, especially in the heat of the summer. It's like the last thing that you want. So the protein waters sound a little bit more refreshing when I'm needing that extra protein amount. Yep. And eggs, do y'all love using eggs? Eggs are one of my favorite ways to get in extra protein.
I love eggs, whole eggs, egg whites, whatever it is. Yeah, I love it. I actually, food today was an egg sandwich. I love
Yeah.
it. We use them every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Last night we got home a little late we were helping my parents move. And, I didn't want to, I was eating later than normal. And I thought, okay, black beans, collards, what can I put with that? Because I'm going to need more protein because of everything I did that day. I added 2 eggs on top of it and let it all cook together. Oh my gosh, I had not done the egg addition to my black beans and collards before, and oh my goodness, delight. It was so good.
That sounds amazing. I might have to steal that. It's very, very Cuban food reminiscent. I like it.
Yeah, it was really delicious, and it's about as filling to me, more filling, but in let me rephrase that. Not filling to the full point, but with the eggs, gave it a little bit more substantiation to it, to where I felt more satisfied. And this morning working out was a little better energy wise versus only doing the black beans and the collards. So
Yes, and there are a
it
couple
really does pay
things.
off. Hmm.
Yeah, there's a couple things going on there, and it's funny that you notice that. So your black beans and your collards, you have a carb source and a veggie source. Okay, cool. If it makes you feel good, awesome. But you're right, you were a little low on protein there, and there was no fat in that meal. So your balance was a little bit wonky. When you added the eggs, you got some protein and you got some fat. And fun fact, protein will keep you satiated and full for a long time. This is why we try to set our protein standards just a little high, safe, of course, but high, because protein keeps you feeling full and it can keep you from making other choices that maybe are not so in line with your long-term goals. But yeah, absolutely. When you add the eggs, you get a little protein, a little fat, and I'm not surprised you felt better afterwards and in the morning.
Mhm. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it was really good. Try it. Let me know what you think.
I will.
Yeah. All right. So let's bring it around to what is it that you would love to just share with people? What do you want to leave people with today that are listening here?
I think the biggest thing that I would leave people with is there is nothing wrong with taking care of yourself first. It's too easy to lean on, well, it's selfish of me to want to take care of myself ahead of my kids, or to find time to move my body, to go and work out instead of spending time with my family, or to take time away from everybody else in my life just to spend it on me and my self-care. But the truth is, taking care of yourself is the most selfless thing that you can do for yourself and your family and your friends. If you neglect taking care of yourself and you end up in the hospital, you end up sick, you end up on medications, you end up having to rely on them to take care of you, did you make the situation better or worse for your life and for theirs? Probably worse. If you don't take care of yourself now, you won't be able to take care of them later. And that's the whole goal. Put yourself first, because they absolutely are depending on you and they need you to be your best self so that they can have you for as long as possible and in the best ways possible. That's what I would leave people with the most. Put your self-care first, because it does matter.
It certainly does. Certainly does. So, Anne, tell us, how can people get into contact with you? We'll share your information below this, but let's speak it out loud. How can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my personal information on social media is me. That's everything me, everything first in. You'll see foods, and sometimes I post workout posts. There's always pictures of our little rescue pit bull on my social media. So it'll be food and dogs. But I am Ann Montgomery on Facebook and on Instagram. And our business page is firstinnutrition.com. That's also our Facebook. It's also our Instagram. So it's first, FIRSTNIN, nutrition, NUTRITION.com. That's something you can find too off of my personal page. I know it's a mouthful.
Oh, I love it. But it says everything that y'all are, right? It's such a great descriptor. And what a pleasure it has been to have you on Ashley's Heart Song today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you. And everyone, thank you for joining us for this show. Share it with your friends. Find us on YouTube at Ashley's Heart Song and watch the replays. And I look forward to seeing you next week as we continue to armor up our lives. See you then.